met Chloe at a friend's rooftop party one Friday night. She was radiant, the kind of woman who seemed to light up every room she entered. Her laugh carried across the crowd, confident and effortless, like she owned the moment. We started talking about music, travel, and life goals. It felt easy, like we'd known each other for years instead of minutes. She told me she worked in marketing, always juggling clients and deadlines. I told her I worked in software, the opposite of her world. She smiled and said, "Maybe that's a good balance." From that moment, I was hooked. Our first few months together were golden. Weekend trips, late-night talks, random cooking disasters in my kitchen. She had a way of making ordinary things feel cinematic. Every photo she posted looked perfect, every caption polished and clever. I didn't care much about social media, but I liked how proud she seemed. She moved into my place after 8 months. Her lease was ending, and it felt like the natural next step. I had a 2-bedroom condo with plenty of space, so it made sense. At least, that's what I told myself. She brought her plants, her designer clothes, and her endless boxes of skincare. I paid the mortgage, the bills, the groceries, and most of everything else. She said it wasn't fair for her to pay rent, since I owned the place. I thought love wasn't about keeping score. So I let it slide. I grew up watching my dad work construction every day. Never complain, always provide. He taught me that real men take care of their homes and their people. That's what I wanted to be. Chloe had big dreams. She talked about building her brand, launching a podcast, maybe even starting her own agency. I supported her every step. When she needed new lighting equipment for her videos, I ordered it the same day. When she wanted to attend a weekend marketing retreat, I told her to go and recharge. It didn't matter that I stayed home doing laundry while she was in Palm Springs posting, living my best life. I believed in her potential. That belief blinded me to the imbalance. She contributed a few $100s here and there, mostly for appearances. But her money went to clothes, brunches, and endless content days with friends. Meanwhile, I covered everything without question. I told myself it was temporary, that once her career took off, she'd meet me halfway. But that day never came. I began to notice how she spoke about our life. It was always my apartment when she posted photos. My balcony view, my kitchen aesthetic. Never ours. I brushed it off, thinking she just liked good captions. But deep down, a small part of me felt erased. Still, I convinced myself that love means patience. That when someone's chasing their dream, you give them room to run. What I didn't see was that she wasn't running toward her dream. She was running away from me. And I was too busy believing in us to notice I was the only one still trying. It started small, like most things that destroy you do. Chloe's phone became part of her hand, always glowing, always buzzing. At first, I didn't think much of it. She worked in marketing, always on call, or that's what she said. But soon, it wasn't just work hours anymore. She'd be texting through dinner, scrolling during movies, replying to messages in bed. Whenever I leaned closer, she'd tilt the screen or lock it fast. I asked once, "Who are you texting?" She didn't even look up. Just a client thing, nothing important. It was Saturday night, close to midnight. Something in her tone told me not to ask again. The next week, a new name started slipping into our conversations. Ryan. Ryan this, Ryan that. Ryan from her networking group. Ryan who started his own agency. Ryan who gets her creative vision. The way she said his name made my stomach tighten. I didn't want to be the jealous boyfriend. I told myself she was just excited about work connections. But every time she talked about him, her eyes lit up differently. I mentioned it to Luke over beers one night. He didn't laugh. He just looked at me and said, "Man, that's not networking, that's interest." I brushed him off. I wanted to believe I was overthinking. I wanted to trust her. But once you notice something, you start seeing it everywhere. Her phone face down on the table. Quick smiles at messages she never explained. Late night work calls that lasted an hour. She started dressing differently for her so-called meetings. More effort, more perfume, less explanation. I told myself I was being paranoid. She'd come home late, tired, say she was exhausted, kiss my cheek and head straight to the shower. I stopped asking questions because I already knew the answers I didn't want. One night, while watching a movie she'd picked, she spent the entire time texting. The glow from her phone lit her face more than the TV did. I tried to joke. Should I start competing with your notifications? She laughed half-heartedly and said, "You're being dramatic." It was the first time she'd ever called me that. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. She made coffee, kissed me on the way out, and said she had brunch with her networking team. I stood at the window and watched her car leave, wondering when our home had stopped feeling like ours. I told Luke again, maybe I'm just not enough. He shook his head. No, man, you're just with someone who doesn't see what she has. I wanted him to be wrong. But deep down, I already knew he was. Something had shifted. Love had turned into habit, and habit had turned into distance. And that distance was filling up with someone else's name. The night of the party felt like any other Friday at first. Chloe spent an hour getting ready, curling her hair, trying on dresses. She finally chose a black one I'd bought her for her birthday. When I told her she looked amazing, she barely smiled. "We should go," she said, already checking her phone. The rooftop bar was packed, music loud, laughter echoing through the air. She disappeared into the crowd the moment we walked in. I stood at the bar, ordered a drink, and tried to blend in. Marketing people everywhere, all smiles and self-promotion. I didn't fit, but I'd gotten used to that feeling. After a while, I spotted her across the room. She was with a tall guy I didn't recognize, leaning close, laughing. Her hand rested on his arm like it belonged there. They looked comfortable, too comfortable. I watched them for a moment, convincing myself it was just business talk. But then I saw it, the real laugh, the one she used to give me. That laugh hit harder than any argument ever could. I took a deep breath and walked over. "Hey," I said, resting my hand gently on her back. She flinched, just a tiny movement, but I felt it. Her smile froze, and she turned slightly away. "Oh, hey," she said. "Ethan, this is Ryan. Ryan, this is Ethan, my friend." That one word burned. Friend. It echoed louder than the music, sharper than the lights. For a second, I thought I'd misheard. 2 years together, living under one roof, and I was just her friend. Ryan smiled, reaching out a hand. "Nice to meet you, man." "Same," I said, shaking his hand a little too firmly. "Funny, she's never mentioned you." Chloe's face went red. Ryan's smile faded. "Anyway," I added, calm but cold, "we should be heading out soon, early morning tomorrow." She blinked, confused. "We just got here." "Then you should say goodbye to your friend," I said. I walked away before either of them could reply. Standing at the bar again, I realized I had two choices. Make a scene and look pathetic, or stay quiet and take control. I chose silence. For the next hour, I watched them. The way she leaned in. The way he touched her waist. The way she didn't move away. Every movement confirmed what I already knew. When she finally came over near midnight, her tone was casual. "Ready to go." "Whenever you are," I said. The ride home was silent. She stared at her phone the whole way, probably still texting him. I looked out the window, memorizing the moment my love finally died. That night, while she showered, I made my decision. No shouting, no begging, no second chances. She called me her friend, and that's exactly what I would stop being. I barely slept that night. The sound of the shower running was the only thing that kept me grounded. When she came out, wrapped in a towel, she acted like nothing happened. She smiled at her phone, giggling at messages I didn't need to see. That was the moment I realized love had already left the room. I slept on the couch, told her my back hurt, and she didn't even question it. The next morning, she kissed my cheek and left for work like every other day. "Feel better," she said and walked out the door. The second her car disappeared, I picked up the phone and called Luke. "I'm ending it today," I told him. "I need help." He paused. "You sure?" "Completely." An hour later, he showed up with his truck and his girlfriend, Sarah. We packed everything Chloe owned. Every pair of shoes, every dress, every piece of makeup she left scattered around. I didn't throw things in bags. I used boxes, labeled them, folded her clothes neatly. Sarah watched quietly and said, "You're being really calm about this." "I'm not angry," I told her. "I'm done." We worked all morning, room by room, until the apartment looked like mine again. By noon, the truck was full. I had already rented a small storage unit across town. We unloaded everything, took pictures of the boxes, and locked the door. It felt methodical, almost peaceful. Then I went home, changed the locks, and called my service provider. I removed her from my phone plan. I called the bank and took her name off my card. Every password she knew was changed. It wasn't revenge, it was closure. She had access to things that belonged to me, and now she didn't. When everything was done, I sat at the kitchen counter with my laptop. I opened our message thread and stared at it for a while. There was nothing left to say, but I typed anyway. "Chloe, your things are in storage at West Park Unit 247. Code 5893. First month paid. I've changed the locks and removed you from all accounts. We're done. Don't contact me." I pressed send at 4:47 p.m. Then I blocked her number. 5 minutes later, my phone started buzzing. Unknown numbers. Voicemails. I didn't answer a single one. That evening, I went to Luke's place for dinner. He kept asking if I was okay. I told him I was, lighter even. Like I'd been holding my breath for months, and finally exhaled. "Think she'll show up?" he asked. "Probably, but she won't get in." That night, I stayed there instead of going home. When my phone rang again, Luke answered on speaker. It was her. Her voice was shaking. "Ethan's not answering. My key doesn't work. All my stuff is gone." Luke said, "He doesn't want to talk. It's over." I called out, loud enough for her to hear. "You introduced me as your friend. Now you have one less." Silence. Then the call ended. I finally slept that night. Not because I stopped caring, but because I finally started caring about myself. The morning after everything ended felt strangely calm. The air in my apartment was quiet for the first time in months. No perfume lingering in the hallway. No phone buzzing at 2 a.m. Just silence, and it felt like freedom. I changed the sheets, bought new towels, and opened the windows. It smelled like a reset. For the first time, I wasn't waiting for anyone to come home. I went to my parents' house that weekend for dinner. My mom took one look at me and said, "You finally look like yourself again." She wasn't wrong. I started going to the gym again, eating real food, sleeping without checking my phone. Work felt easier, too. My boss even said, "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." 2 weeks passed before I met Hailey. She lived in the same building, a floor above mine. I'd seen her before in the elevator, neat, professional, always smiling politely. One morning, I saw her struggling with her laptop at the cafe downstairs. She looked frustrated, tapping the screen like it had betrayed her. I offered help, told her I worked in software. She laughed and said, "Be my hero then." It took 3 minutes to fix it. When she thanked me, she insisted on buying me coffee. We ended up sitting together, talking about work and life. She was an architect, loved old buildings, hated pretentious people. Her energy was calm but alive. When she talked, she made eye contact. No distractions, No hidden phone under the table. That alone felt new. Before leaving, she asked for my number, just in case my laptop decides to rebel again. That night, she texted, "Thanks again for saving me today. Let me buy you a real drink sometime." I smiled at my screen for the first time in a long while. We met that Thursday for drinks near our building. One drink turned into 3, and time slipped away unnoticed. She asked questions because she wanted to know, not to perform interest. She listened, and when she spoke, it was genuine. There was no game, no competition. Just 2 people enjoying a quiet connection. When I walked her home, it was only 15 feet down the hall. At her door, she smiled and said, "I'd like to see you again." "Me too," I said, and I meant it. We started spending time together, simple things. Coffee in the morning, walks after work, movie nights on my couch. No drama, no tension, no wondering what message she was hiding. Hailey was steady, kind, and honest. She never made me guess what she was thinking. She never made me feel small for caring too much. And in that quiet comfort, something began to heal. I realized love wasn't supposed to feel like anxiety. It was supposed to feel like peace. And with Hailey, peace was finally what I had. A month after the breakup, the intercom buzzed for the first time. Hailey was in the kitchen making coffee, and I was working on my laptop. When I checked the screen, my stomach sank. It was Chloe, standing in the lobby with that same confident look I once loved. She pressed the buzzer again, longer this time. "Don't answer," Hailey said quietly. I hesitated. Then the intercom rang again, followed by my phone lighting up with unknown numbers. Persistent as ever. Hailey smiled faintly. "Want me to handle it?" I nodded. She pressed the speaker button. "Hello." Chloe's voice cracked. "Is Ethan there?" "He's busy right now," Hailey replied smoothly. "Can I help you with something?" "Who is this?" Chloe snapped. "This is Hailey," she said, "and you must be the ex." There was a long pause before Chloe answered. "I need to talk to him. It's important." "Ethan made it clear he doesn't want contact," Hailey said, her tone calm but firm. "Please, just 5 minutes," Chloe begged. I leaned closer to the intercom. "Chloe, stop calling. Stop showing up. It's over." Her voice trembled. "Ethan, I made a mistake with Ryan. Nothing happened." I panicked. "I don't care," I said. "Whether something happened or not doesn't matter. You disrespected me." She started crying. "But I love you." "No," I said softly. "You loved the comfort I gave you. That's not the same thing." I released the button and walked away. Hailey looked at me and whispered, "That was brutal." "It was honest," I said. She smiled. "Good." That night, Hailey stayed over for the first time. The next morning, while brushing her hair in the bathroom, she found something. "Is this the necklace you said Chloe left behind?" she asked. It was a small gold chain she'd forgotten weeks ago. Hailey held it up. "Mind if I wear it?" "It's not mine," I said. "Do whatever you want." She smiled and put it on. 3 days later, the intercom buzzed again. I didn't even need to check to know who it was. Chloe's voice came through, shaky but determined. "I left my grandmother's necklace. I need it back." I looked at Hailey, who was now sitting on the couch, wearing it. She smirked. "Want me to get the door?" "Go ahead," I said. When the door opened, Chloe froze. Hailey stood there in one of my shirts, hair messy, necklace shining under the light. "You must be Chloe," she said sweetly. "The necklace is right here." Chloe's face flushed with rage. "You're wearing it." "I was," Hailey said, removing it and handing it over. "It's lovely. You have great taste." Chloe glared. "How long have you two been together?" I stepped into view. "Since I stopped being your friend." She looked at me, eyes wet, voice breaking. "You moved on this fast." "I moved on the night you introduced me like a stranger." She stood there for a moment, shaking. Then she whispered, "You're cruel." I said quietly, "No, I'm finally honest." And for the first time, She didn't argue. She just left. Hailey closed the door and leaned against it, smiling. She's gone. Yeah, I said, exhaling. For good this time. 6 months later, Hailey and I got married on a quiet beach in Maui. Only close family came, just laughter and ocean air. No drama, no tension, no pretending. My mom hugged me and whispered, "She's proud to stand next to you. That's what matters." She was right. Hailey didn't love me for what I could give her. She loved me for who I was. That night we sat under the stars, hands intertwined, waves crashing nearby. I thought about Chloe for the first time in months. Not with anger, not with pain, just gratitude. Because without her betrayal, I might never have found this peace. Sometimes the worst heartbreak gives you the clearest vision. Sometimes losing the wrong person leads you to the right one. Hailey leaned her head on my shoulder and whispered, "You look happy." "I am," I said, smiling. And for the first time in a long time, I meant every word. The past didn't haunt me anymore. It had simply taught me how to choose better, how to love better, and most of all, how to never let anyone make me feel like I was just a friend again.